Hello YouTube. Here is an article from the Daily Mail, and it's another one of the victim articles. It's by Kayla Brantley for the Daily Mail and Nikki Schwab for U.S. political reporter for Daily Mail. Um, so anyway, the Surgeon General he gave a statement, right? He's a black guy, right? He gave a statement that no the 99% of the population had no problem with. But the extra 10%, unfortunately, some of them are race baiting reporters. So just let's read it. The Surgeon General on the fire for telling African Americans not to smoke, drink, or take drugs, and highly offensive use of term "Big Mama" as pandemic hits black community hardest. Again, it hits them the hardest. It has to do with a lot of education. Has to do with just parenting, just lack of not caring, just the general attitude. Again, I'll relate my experiences when teaching, and it's a doozy. It's a big problem in the community, and the only answer I've ever heard is blame somebody else. It's never their fault. Sometimes kids themselves deserve responsibility. Believe it or not, parents deserve responsibility. You never tell a parent to the face it's your fault when you're behind the back. It's anyway. So Surgeon General Jerome Adams pleaded with the African American community, and communities are called to follow the virus guidelines. Okay, so one of the lines he uses, Adam asked Americans of color to do it for your abuela, do it for your granddaddy, do it for your big mama, do it for your pop. Okay, so these are usually terms. Okay, so these terms are typically done in colored households, typically black and Spanish households. Usually, whites do father or daddy. It's oh mom. I keep thinking of some black movies where they use the name Big Mama. Not just Martin Lawrence. Anyway, the article, Attorney General Jerome Adams has been met with outrage by the black community using the terms, like I said, abuela, a big mama, pop, and while pleading to minorities. Again, he's trying to relate to the black community. Um, uh, Again, there should be zero problem with that. He's making an effort. Plus, he's black. But again, you're only black until you leave the plantation. That's the key to how they think. Again, those who accuse others of racism are probably the most racist people of all. Again, they serve communist purpose. They attack language. Language is one of those things that it'll always change under communism, right? What wasn't offensive yesterday will be offensive today. What's not offensive today will be offensive tomorrow. It's kind of sick. Anyway, he continues. We need you to do this. If not for yourself, for your abuela, do it for your granddad, do it for your mama, do it for papa. The nation's top doctor said Friday at the daily task force briefing, while also advising these groups of people to avoid alcohol, tobacco, and drug. It's no shock. It's prevalent in these communities. I've never heard of until recently, like, when you have an issue, you're supposed to address it, But apparently, in the new version of Clown World, or the Upside Down, whatever you want to call it, it's avoid talking about it because it might hurt somebody's feelings from one of these minority groups. These minority groups aren't babies. Women aren't babies. It's like you be direct with them. You send them to the room. If they don't obey, send them to the room. Anyway, Adams told Americans of color that they need to step up to stop the spread of virus, and social ills are likely contribution factor when looking at the dire statistics. And again, it's affecting the black people more. The outbreak has killed twice as many black and Latino than whites. Again, it has to do with like IQ stuff. It has to do with just simply following authority figures. It's just, again, I've seen this before. This is like it's a constant thing in the school system, a constant thing. Now members of the black community are calling out the members the useful tools, of the black community are calling them, pandering to them with the use of slang. So he's pandering, right? But the little progressives aren't. Unbelievable. And it's just one of those sad things that's just like, my God, they should have zero problems with these things. They should be like, he should be over the medal for telling the truth. This guy deserves several medals. Maybe in the future there'll be truth medals. For courage under fire during the era of progressiveness and social justice. Okay, so TV host and actress Claudia Jordan White took to Twitter to express her outrage, of course, because she needs to get those ratings. I have no idea who Claudia Jordan is, by the way. Don't care. Anyway, the Surgeon General telling black folks not to drink and smoke and do it for your papa and big mama. Well, where did they get this guy from? I'm sure he's pretty more accomplished than you'll ever be. He's probably given less than you ever will. He actually earned it. How dumb do you think they are with this? How about suggesting everyone cut back? Let's not do that, okay? Jordan said. One man on Twitter, David Deloch, said, "Let me tell you something. Why don't you talk the way movies, songs, and media portray us?" The Surgeon General is trying to relate to a life never lived, listening to his voice, the way he speaks, and the way he speaks. And the way he speaks, okay? He never called anyone Big Mama, neither have I. Oh, sure. Okay. Other questions why Adams' word choice writing as if people wouldn't understand him if he said, "Do it for your grandparents." Okay, so again, this just relates to a lot of stuff I've done in the school system, and it's like you're not allowed to call mommy and daddy parents or mommy and daddy, right? You have to call them oh gosh, you have to call them like related words like guardians. some again, you'll never improve culture by normalizing single parent, okay? You'll never improve unless you do authoritarianism and communism. You'll never improve culture. You never will. These people are absolute liars, insane. They don't care about society. They just care about pushing some talking points to probably get paid more and appease their Chinese masses. This is why I believe at this point it just makes no sense. All these media people can be this crazy on purpose, unless it's on purpose. You know what I mean? Like they all can be this dumb to believe these things. Anyway, so the main fat woman, the Rubenesque woman on PBS NewsHour, Yami's Alcindor asked him to respond to those who might be offended to colloquialisms. We need targeted outreach to the African American community, and I use that language that is used in my family. Adams said, "I have a Puerto Rican brother-in-law, and I call granddaddy. I use relatives who call my grandparents Big Mama." See, and these people who complain also probably call the parents the exact same thing. It's just they find something to latch on to, they get the marching orders from above, and here we are. Okay, Alcindor also pressed Adams on why he mentioned drugs and alcohol while talking about communities of color, because it's more prevalent like crime. Geez, these people are liars. Like, they don't want to solve the crime rates. Just don't want you to talk about it, because they're all safe in their little castles, the Disney castles, locked away with security guards. Regular folks, middle class folks who actually live in the suburbs and the city, they struggle. They have to worry about crime every single day. Because the cops don't go into neighborhoods anymore to arrest these people. The cops know who the criminals are. They know where they're located. They know the age. They know what they look like. Anyway, these people don't struggle for anything. These people just do social justice nonsense to get paid, because taking the easy way is how you accomplish things in 2020. I had some of the tweets. These awful people, just absolutely awful people. Again, they need modern day Nuremberg trials. When it's all said and done, when this social justice era ends, they need Nuremberg trials. But lucky thing Twitter exists to remember this stuff, so you know who your enemies are at the end. Okay, these people are awful. Okay, they're absolutely awful. And probably in like 5 years from now, when social justice has died, they'll all start deleting their tweets. Yeah. All right. So anyway, these are some of the tweets. You can read yourself. I'll post the articles in the description for those who are interested. These are just some of the data. So let's just get the data. On Wednesday, New York released data that showed the black and Latino people. I don't understand, like, why don't they capitalize the black? It's supposed to be a, it's not a color, you know. It's anyway. We're twice as likely to die from virus than white residents. Racist. That's all awfully racist. For them to even mention is racist, you know. Anyway, similar figures are popping up around the country. Chicago was 70%. I've been through this already in another article, but anyway, 70% deaths have been by black people who make up only 30% of the residents, you know. Anyway, Louisiana, New Orleans, 70% of 30% of 32% of residents in the state. You know, again, the problem is also, right, a lot of blacks live in close community quarters, so they live one on top of each other, and usually they ignore rules. Okay, this is what happens. Okay, I've been in the projects. You know, I've hung out in the projects. You know, I spent a lot of time in the projects. They ignore things. They tend to conglomerate. They kind of conversate. They tend to interact differently than normal people. You know, again, I blame a lot of this on single mothers and lack of fathers in the household. You know, again, these awful people. Yeah. No. Anyway. Anyway, and among those are high blood pressure. Essentially, like blacks tend to have more underlying conditions. It again has to do with uh, not just race. It has to do with nature, evolution. Has to do with eating habits. You know, all this tying into the lack of parents. You know. So anyway, that's it. That's all going to the story. So there's some of the stats you can look at. This is just a picture of the graph, you know, the cases and how it's going, you know. Anyway, yeah, again, here's a nice little ending, right? Adams said the chronic burden of medical billings among Americans of color is making those communities less resilient to the ravages. And it's possible that, in fact, the burden and social ills are also contributing. He mentioned trends like few people of color having jobs where they can work. Well, stop immigration and you get more blacks working again and get the black fathers, and then you have to tackle feminism. You have to disassociate feminism from the court system to have a productive America. Americans of color live in urban and thus, yes, densely packed places. We tell people to wash their hands, but the study shows that 30% of homes in the Navajo Nation don't have running water. That's a problem. I have to read more with Navajo Nation to figure this out. Okay. The takeaway Adam says was people of color experience both more likely exposure to the virus and increased complications. So they tend to have more underlying conditions like obesity and heart disease and blood pressure and all those things. So this is why they're probably more susceptible. That adds to them this susceptibility. But again, sometimes you can't argue it. You can't attack evolution. That is what it is, you know. These people, again, they want to alter evolution to suit their needs. So if evolution makes certain races susceptible to disease, it's not evolution, it's racism. You know, these people are awful. Same thing with women. If evolution made them not as able as men, it's sexism. Again, all these are talking points of communists. Communists know these things, right? Communists, it's not like communists don't know these things. They absolutely know these things, and they use them. And so do the rich people in the United States. They absolutely know these things. They know the stats. They know everything. They don't get rich by luck, you know. They know these stats. You know, they absolutely know it. All right, guys, take care. Hope you enjoy. It's a nice little story. I'll post if you guys want to read. And that's it. Stay tuned. Please share, subscribe, thumbs up. Hope you were entertained a little bit.